Okay, I'm going to translate this for Mark. Sorry, not Mark, Robert, because he's really not listening to what we are saying about the 5G. Everything that's been said here may not all be true, but there are some elements of truth. I agree with some of the things that have been said. So here we go. I'm going to start translating, and I'll stop every now and then if I'm tired, because I really don't fancy doing this at the moment, but it's to show Robert. Hello. It's very cloudy again. Guys, I continue to give you information, but you must share these videos. Here the interpreter wants to point out 7.77.7777 is the number of people in the world, which is also very, very spooky, right? When did they decide to send this virus out again? Let's forward. The first number on top is an approximate. It's a symbolic number, but it continues to change. It is the number of the world population. The number below, therefore, 7.7777. The number below that, 170,000, is the number of the deaths, the people dead due to the genovirus. By the way, Robert, he calls it the genovirus to do with, he believes it's genetic rather than to do with the corona. You'll have to look at his other videos to understand that. The bottom number, 0.0021857% of the population, world population. Practically, anything in the world can cause more deaths than the genovirus. We have been closed in the house for 2 months for nothing. When they say that it is a pandemic, we must understand that when you read the numbers, these numbers, they're not saying that there's a pandemic. Number of deaths do not say. Pay attention, these are the numbers that they declare as deaths from genovirus. We know that this 170,000, 99% of these people did not die from genovirus. Therefore, in substance, maybe 100 of people died from genovirus, maybe a few hundred. But let's stick to these numbers. Let's say that the official ones are right. There is no pandemic anyway. Somebody says, as usual, the pandemic is not how many dead, but how diffuse around the world this illness is, this virus. Well, they're all numbers, they're fake numbers, because nobody can certify be precise on how diffuse this illness is, because the swabs are 80% not valid, but mostly somebody should ask, why is the illness spreading in a kind of leopard spots way? How can the virus go to China and not touch China and then go to Milan and Madrid and London, New York? Some areas does not touch them at all. How come? So basically saying, how come it just seems to skip from one big city to the other, and he's mentioned the names London, Madrid, New York, and then does not touch other areas at all? Because usually pandemics and illnesses created by viruses, not by bacteria but by virus, have always been, but also the ones by bacteria have always been with a diffusion going out, expanding outwards from a nucleus, not like leopard spots. This is the first pandemic that happens with leopard spots. Somebody will say, but ci sono I voi, I think, let's go with that word.
Una diffusione da un certo punto in fuori, da un nucleo in fuori, non a macchia di leopardo. Questa è la prima pandemia che avviene a macchia di leopardo. Qualcuno dirà, ma ci sono I voli. No.
So the subtitle said vote. So he's saying yes, but it could be due to airplanes, some people might say. But one must use your logic. We must give explanations. I am looking at what the doctors say. There's American, English doctors around the world who are talking about it. They have had Nobel Prizes. Everyone says their own theory. They're scientists to explain how it's possible that a flu virus, actually a cold virus, can propagate in a leopard spots way and kill people. First thing, all the things they have done, the medical workers has been incorrect. It's not just me who's saying it, it's the doctors, because using respirators, ventilators, does not do anything but make things worse. So when they say use ventilators, make ventilators, that will kill the patient in that moment. Giving oxygen to the patient, you're killing him. They're killing him. It is a fact. There will be scandals in the future. They will come out because people have been killed. The doctors say it, the honest doctors. Those are capable doctors, because people affected by this virus had other pathologies. Therefore, the virus has aggravated the other pathologies, and this aggravation has been treated in the wrong way, because this virus does not attack the lungs like a normal pneumonia. The doctors say it, the serious doctors say it, the real doctors, the ones that studies, the ones that not the make-up bullshit, does not attack the lungs, but like pneumonia, but attacks the lungs like a stroke. Hang on, thrombosis. Oh god, thrombosis is when it's gone from my brain. It's when there's not enough oxygen in the blood, and therefore the clots. I think it's a clot. When the blood densifies. We'll just say thrombosis, blood clot. Yeah, it's a blood clot. Right, it's not a stroke. Sorry, apologies. Therefore, the ventilated pills. You must give anticoagulants. The problem is that it is more nice to create an alarmism based on a illness that needs and which you have a need for constant oxygen. You need to be intubated, you need to have large hospital structures and machinery, because that way money circulates. You can make this look really spectacular. The people have died, but they may kill them, because there are normal anticoagulants, and people can eventually, with a series of medical procedures, get better at home. This is a fact, not what I say. All the doctors in the world can say it. Therefore, the problem with this virus is that the people that treated this virus either did not know what they were supposed to do, or they did it on purpose. So they become a killer. So that's the substantial truth. Or you didn't know what you were doing, to the incapable doctors, or incompetent, or to the killer doctors. This is a fact. You just need to read about this. Inform yourself abroad what the Americans, what the English, what the German doctors are saying. But the interesting thing... Sorry, I just got to take a call. Pause. But the interesting thing is not clear how this could have arrived everywhere in a pandemic measure without any logic, skipping continents, countries, situations. It's interesting. It's interesting. Well, there are two theories that can come together, and there are researchers that are looking at these theories. The first one is the transmission theory. Okay, so it's like a cold. It transmitted like a cold. The second is simply it was activated, and I continue to say this. There are researchers that are following these situations, these theories. these possibilities. Because as the Nobel Premium winner Luc Montagnier, who is a big researcher of how the transmission of the DNA and RNA, a sequence of molecules, happens from a distance, and the same person has talked in an interview that you've seen recently of the possibility of commanding the DNA and the RNA and even the protein molecules, which are the basic elements of life, through electromagnetic waves. This is a fact. Luc Montagnier demonstrated and even got a Nobel Prize for this. Explaining how it's possible to create a sequence of DNA in Japan and transfer the same sequence of DNA to England, in the United States, at a distance, and reproduce it in the reality as real DNA. Therefore, we create from a distance something perfectly one copy the same of the other. This through the sound waves, through the electromagnetic waves. Is it possible? It is possible at a distance to modify and recreate parts of the DNA and the RNA, or induct this change in an organism. These are facts. Therefore, if we consider that the virus can be transmitted via saliva, breathing, air, but this is therefore this would be like a common cold. It acts like a cold. How come then how can it become difficult? It is only dangerous if it is together with other pathologies. I'm not saying it myself. It's 99.9% of the people died from pre-existing pathologies. But how is it possible that in some areas, much distant, very distant one from the other, this virus arrived? How is that possible? Because it cannot go from China to Wuhan, and from Wuhan and not diffuse in all of China or skip whole states. It arrives all of a sudden to Alzano Lombardo, all of a sudden to Milan, all of a sudden in the Padana Basin, or Madrid or New York.
Basta seguire quello che ha detto giustamente Luc Montagnier.
So I had to check that. The Pianura Padana is the Po Valley. The Po is the river in Italy. Okay, let's go on. So you just need to check, obviously, what Luc Montagnier said. We're talking about Spain to open beaches by some. Let me just close that. So yeah, he's saying that Luc Montagnier, the famous Nobel Prize winner. Okay, so we just need to check what he said, and that a lot of other doctors and physicians say as well. Physicians studying physics. These are known things by those people that know how to research and inform themselves. And it is possible that the 5G is the secret of everything. When people say there's no correlation between 5G and the virus, they're ignorant. They're a person that does not inform themselves. And I've said it to many people that mentioned in my past videos that I do not check the news. I'll do an example. Let's go and see Barba Nera Hicks, the one from the Club Pirata, Shitstorms. He had 150,000 views. He put my films on my YouTube's my videos on YouTube illegally, without my consent, and he was criticizing a lot. So he was criticizing what I was saying were a load of bullshit, saying things without any motivation on things that I had said with a motivation, with a reason. Barbascura Hicks.
Metrosessuale comunista con la barba nera, almeno.
Okay, here he's saying the word metrosexual, which I presume is a kind of derogatory way to say Italian men who live in the city and are interested in dabbling in sexual adventures, and also communist with a black beard, because obviously he's called Blackbeard Barbanera, so I think he's obviously making a kind of irony on his name.
Pulisci, fai schifo al cazzo.
He's saying, at least watch yourself because you look disgusting. I think he's saying. I haven't seen this man on video, but that's how I'm going to translate it. And he's also telling him to.
Capra, fottuta capra. Tu sei.
He's saying that Barbanera should study, and here capra, which is the word for goat, would also refer to somebody who's a bit ignorant, doesn't understand anything. You are jealous because have a million. Okay, here again, I think, did he say million views? And anyway, so he said, you're only jealous because I have a million views and I'll burn your ass. So yeah, so I don't need to explain what he means by that. Burn your ass because you're using my name to try to turn back on, come on, to make yourself seen. Barbanero X of this okay, here again this isn't the real name of a club, he's just saying the name of the club is Barbanera of the private club, this bullshit, so that's how I'm translating it, but sooner or later, wait, I will make a big shitstorm on you. Okay, Barbanera, Barbascura, whatever your name is, disadattato means somebody who's not fitting into society. Is it possible to modify the DNA and RNA from a distance, the proteins of the human body? Yes, it is. You just need to have the instruments, and the instruments are the 5G antenna. I'm not saying it. The Nobel Prize winner says it. Many researchers say it. You just need to inform yourself. Do you need... So here it's a question. Do you need to have particular frequencies? Again, this is a question, a rhetoric question, because then he goes on to the answer. It is clear that a 4G is not capable. The 3G is not capable. I showed you a film. I already did a film showing the difference between 5G and the others. I repeat, by pure chance, the cities where there is 5G have not. Okay, I think the subtitles said the cities where it has not been tested, but I think he's saying the cities that have activated 5G as a test have had the most deaths.
Lo ripeto, casualmente le città dove c'è il 5G, dove hanno attivato 5G come test, sono quelle dove c'è stato il maggior numero
so
di persone
there's been more dead people in the cities, the Po Valley again, Wuhan, these are all places where there's been, Wuhan, I presume he's saying, the Po Valley where there's been more deaths, London, Madrid, New York, and etc. These are cities with 5G cabling where they have started the tests and they will continue. The electromagnetic waves of the 5G, because I also have friends that do not understand, but the 5G is like the 4G. But have you not understood, Italians, that they're taking the piss? They have they have played you like the effect of PlayStation. They've twisted you, roped you in, like PlayStation, iPhone. Did he say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, I mean, I don't use PlayStation, but do you understand that the 5G has nothing to do with the 4G? Okay, saying it doesn't matter whether it's 5 or 4G. There's absolutely no comparison. They are electromagnetic waves. It's like comparing a plane, tourist plane, a Piper. Okay, it flies. With a battle airplane, if that's what you can call it. A warplane. I don't know what they're called in the army. It's like comparing a Fiat Panda with a Ferrari Formula One. They're both cars. They have 4 wheels, but they're 2 different objects. The 5G is a military weapon. It works on frequencies, and leaving apart the frequencies that the 4G is utilizing, it is a fact that they transmit data. Amongst, moreover, there have been tests done. The 5G has the same frequency of the 4G, transmits less low uploads of the 4G. Okay, this is where I was a bit confused, because before we said they're totally different, but now he's saying that they do more or less the same job, in fact even worse. So basically he's going to go on and say, why was this 5G installed instead? Obviously there must be an ulterior motive. It's nothing to do with the 5G being better, because if anything, first he's saying it's the same. I think he means it's the same mechanism, but then he's saying it's not even working as well as the 4G, right? He's mentioned that the electromagnetic waves, or the things that we have to be looking at, right? So they're giving a technology. The 5G should be better than the 4G. Instead, it's more slow. You just need to update your information. There's a lot of information about that. But so why are they putting the 5G in? Because they're interested in the frequency. Okay, so what he's saying is that the difference between the 5G and the 4G is the frequency. There must be other mechanisms which is the same. In fact, the 5G is more slower, but I'm not sure how. The slowness must not be to do with the frequency then. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, as I said, I'm only interpreting. As I said, above 2G, you were talking about Wi-Fi, microwaves, but from 2 to 20, but above 20 frequency, their waves are much smaller. High frequencies. Okay, just to point out here, I don't know a lot about these things, but as far as I understood, high frequencies are the ones where the waves are much smaller, because they're more dense, because they're going quicker. So the slow frequencies have bigger waves. You know, just imagine throwing a big pebble into the water. Is that right? Yeah, a big pebble into the water. That's a big mass, right? A big mass has a slower frequency, and then it's going to have more weight. So it's going to bring out bigger, deeper waves, whilst the higher frequency is going to, the ripple is going to be smaller. It's the same with anything, really. A human has a bigger voice than, well, I mean, the bird has a higher frequency and therefore a higher pitch than the human. In fact, as we know, some pitches humans cannot hear at all. I'd be curious to know if there is a high frequency sound from these things that we can't hear. Anyway, it's difficult. I know it's difficult to understand. Therefore, from 20 to 95 gigahertz, you will not need anything for you population. For us, they're only for the military. And you know what's going to happen? You know what they've discovered? The physics, the doctors knew it, the scientists, that at 60 gigahertz, 60 gigahertz, i.e. between 25 and 95. And he says here, you arrive at it. He means that we are within that range with the 5G. By pure chance, we know this is at that frequency. Oxygen that you breathe is not able, if it's been inundated, if it's been washed over by electric and magnetic wave of 60 gigahertz, is okay. Let me just check the word irrorato. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah, irrorare is sprinkled, sprayed. Yeah, so washed over, sprinkled, sprayed. And therefore cannot bind to the blood hemoglobin. Don't forget the hemoglobin has oxygen in it, and therefore the blood, which is what brings oxygen everywhere to the brain, the heart, is not able anymore to transport oxygen, but transports CO2, carbon dioxide. These waves, which transmit with the 5G can kill people in a short time, taking away the oxygen from the walls. I think he means the walls of the the walls of the veins, I think. Obviously, we know that it also damages the walls of the lungs. Therefore, it is clear that people feel like suffocating because as well as the eventual any virus phenomena which they have, then they get thrombosis. It can also be easily increased by taking out the oxygen from the hemoglobin of the blood, because the 5G can enter easily in the body with the antenna in the area, and can with a certain frequency take the oxygen, i.e. the oxygen is agitated so quickly that they cannot bind with the hemoglobin. So he's saying that the so he's saying that the frequency of the waves is agitating the molecules, and he's talking about the molecules in the blood. He did mention the DNA and RNA. I'm presuming, I don't know about science and biology, but I'm not sure if the DNA. Yeah, the DNA would be in the blood, right? So anyway, let's go on. So the hemoglobin cannot transport the oxygen to the final destination. As a consequence, do you know what? Let me check if that's true, that the DNA and RNA is in the blood. Yeah, sorry, I know that DNA and RNA are in the blood. What I wanted to check if that was the way he was talking about it had altered the DNA and RNA. I'm presuming that the DNA is also in any other part of the body. I know that you can take a DNA sample from a skin, hair of somebody alive. You can even take DNA from their urine, and when they're dead, you can only take DNA from their skin. So I've never been, you do DNA sampling with blood. I don't know, So anyway, so he's talking about DNA and RNA in the blood. Anyway, okie doke.
Questo segnale a 60 GHz, più velocemente la gente muore per mancanza di ossigeno.
So what he's saying is that the more quickly this signal is sent with 60 megahertz or whatever, the more people will die for lack of oxygen. I'm not saying it. I'm not the one who's saying it. It's the scientists. You just need to inform yourself exactly how it happens with the water molecules with microwaves. The microwaves agitate so quickly the water molecules that then it creates heat and the water evaporates. So that's how evaporation happens. He's saying that when water heats up, the oxygen separates from the water molecules. Right, that's interesting to know. We do know, I know that water obviously transmits vapor transmits at a higher frequency than water. You can check that out yourself if you want. Again, the two things, if that's correct, then it would make sense. So the heat comes out from inside, and as we are 99% water, we are liquid in substance, and the frequencies so we're made of frequencies and liquid. Therefore, these 5G waves naturally can modify the organism, the human organism, even the animals, anyone, even vegetables. For that, they want to cut down the trees, because when they will start with the 5G signals, the trees, as they've got a lot of lymph, let me just check. I think that's the lymphatic system. Just a sec. Yeah, so they're saying the trees has a good lymphatic system. In this case, it's more related to the oxygen transportation system. From
possono
all right, so they've
assorbire.
got a very good lymphatic system for water, yeah, as well. Yeah, obviously, yeah, they can absorb these. Well, obviously the roots will go into the earth, yeah. So it's not like with humans. They can
queste
absorb
onde
these
e
waves
attirarle a
and
sé,
suck them
non
in,
facendole arrivare alla destinazione voluta, cioè
not
ai
letting
corpi umani.
them.
Avete capito?
Right, so he's saying that if trees are around when they're sending out the 5G signals, the trees could divert this procedure of water dehydration or water desiccation, you could say, because it's taking out the oxygen, separation of the oxygen from the water, because they're going to be diverting it into their good water lymphatic system and not affecting us.
Capito? Agli esseri umani. Per quello gli interessa far fuori
That's
gli alberi.
the
Contengono
reason
troppa
why
acqua
they are
e
trying to
l'acqua
remove the
gli crea
trees.
problemi.
They contain too much water, and water
Allora,
creates problems.
questi sono dati
Therefore,
scientifici.
these are scientific
Questa è
data.
la più grande, la
This
più
is
grande truffa del mondo.
the biggest
Le
con of
persone
the
vengono
world.
o
The people either
ammazzate
get killed
bruttalmente o vengono
intentionally or
semplicemente
simply
condotte alla morte in maniera inconscia.
conducted
Ma il
to
5G
death in an unconscious manner, so led to death without realizing it. But the
è
5G is
talmente
so
potente
strong
che
that
possono fare
they
quello
can
che
do
vogliono.
what they
Vi
want.
danno, come ho
They
detto
will
altre
give you,
volte,
as I
la
said
pillola che voi
many
avrete più
times, the
veloce a
pill
scaricare
that
i
you
vostri
will.
filmati. E non è vero, perché usa le stesse frequenze del 4G.
Right, so they're giving you the pill. I think it means the placebo, that you will be going to try to upload and download your, pretending to you that you'll be able to download your films more quickly, but that's not true, because they're using the same frequencies as the 4G.
Quindi non esiste
Therefore,
una
there
palla
is.
colossale, ma loro,
It's a big load of bollocks, but thanks to 4G, they have a capillary diffusion of the antennas. Right, and when you say capillary diffusion, I don't mean he means capillary in the human bodies, but it could be both. And they can use the frequency for cooking people, but not cooking them as a chicken, taking away the oxygen. They have understood, they know perfectly well that at 60G, from 27 to 60, more they arrive towards the 60 gigahertz, more the saturation and incapacity of the oxygen to bind to the hemoglobin arrives to 98%. Therefore, modulating. Sorry, I have to go over there. For modulating from 90 to 60 gigahertz.
Al 98%, cioè modulando a 60 GHz le onde.
Oh, sorry, he was correcting, not 90 but 60 gigahertz. So changing, modulating to 60 gigahertz the waves of the 5G transmitted by the 5G. It is definite, sure, guaranteed death. You just need to study that. Maybe I'll give you some link if I can manage it, because they're written in English, so therefore they are. They are, cose particolari means there's, the specialist opinions. So have you understood? Salutatemi al suolo. That's not being written properly, but anyway, basically saying goodbye. Study it. Oh yeah, mentions are also the links are in English, so they're a bit difficult to understand. So now you have a better picture of everything. It's a big scam. The problem is not the virus, it's the 5G. And for this reason, they do not want people to talk about 5G, because that is the weapon that they will use to destroy everything and everyone. For that reason, they're keeping us in the house to not let us see how many they are installing. So just wake up. Right, we finished that.